So the next thing that happened on AEW Dynamite, now before I talk about Bryan Danielson's match, we gotta talk about one segment. So we see Jungle Boy, and he says that he didn't know that he was going to ever trust anybody ever again, but he found one person that he could trust, and he could trust Hook, because him and Hook are challenging Big Bill and Lee Moriarty into a match. So yeah, that's what Jungle Boy said. But then we get to the next match of the night. It was Bryan Danielson versus Tony Nese one-on-one, and it was a pretty good match. Tony Nese actually almost picked up the win at one point when he had Bryan Danielson sitting at that turnbuckle and his knee to the face onto him. Pins him 1-2. Bryan barely kicking out at 2. And then Danielson starts coming back a little bit, and Tony Nese starts taking control again there in this match. But then, guys, Bryan Danielson set it back up into that corner, tries to hit that knee again. Danielson moves out the way. Nese hits his knee onto the turnbuckles and the ropes, hurting his leg. He turns around, and then he gets hit with the Psycho knee by Bryan Danielson, and then Danielson starts laying in those stumps to the face onto Tony Nese. And then instead of locking on the label lock, he locks on the wriggle stretch. Pretty much Tony Nese was already knocked out, so he locked on the submission hold, and Bryan Danielson won the match. So yeah, Bryan Danielson defeated Tony Nese tonight on AEW Dynamite. That's what happened. For that match, I'll give it 2 stars. That's why I'll give it. It was pretty quick, and it was pretty good at the same time. So yeah, that's why I'll get the match. But then, after the match ended, Bryan Danielson grabs the mic and he calls out MJF. So yeah, the AEW World Heavyweight Champion MJF comes walking out, but he stays on top of the ramp on the stage, and he starts laying in some jokes about Bryan Danielson's mom and all that stuff, human shooters, and Danielson starts doing the same thing, laying in some jokes on MJF and stuff. And then Danielson was like, okay, now instead of laying in these jokes, I'm just going to go up there and beat your ass because I'm tired of you. And then Danielson starts stepping out the ring, and MJF quickly runs up to the announce table. He goes like, hold on. Now let's go ahead and talk about this and all that stuff. And Danielson pretty much wants a match against MJF for the world title. And MJF was like, look, if you want a match against me for the world title, you got to do a few things. Now, I could pull with some stuff because pretty much Tony Khan and all of them is not the owners of this company. I clearly am. And then MJF was like, how about this? So, yeah, and MJF was like, hey, well, if you want a world title match, you got to face against a person every single week and not lose against anybody during those matches all the way up until February 8th to become number 1 contender for the world title. And Bryan Danielson was like, how about this? I'll just face you, beat you, and then become number 1 contender and beat you again for the world title or whatever. And MJF was like, no, it's either my way or no title match. So yeah, that's what MJF said. And Danielson was like, okay, fine, well, how about this? I will accept your little challenge if you let me pick the stipulation for the match. And MJF was like, okay, cool. You know what? I'll allow you to pick the stipulation of the match if you can beat everybody else. And Bryan Danielson was like, okay, how about this? Me and you one-on-one for the world title in a 1-hour Iron Man match. And MJF pretty much didn't want to do it. He goes like, well, you know what? It's okay because you're not going to last against the first week of the challenge. And Bryan Danielson was like, okay, watch. Well, after I beat every single bite, I'm going to stump your head in the ground once I get to you and win the world title. So yeah, that's what Bryan Danielson was saying. It was pretty good promos from them back and forth and all that stuff. So yeah, pretty good stuff. But yeah, up next we're going to be seeing Swerve Strickland versus AR Fox 1-on-1 up next on Dynamite. So yeah, that match will be happening up next. But yeah, see you guys later. Until then.